And that brings us to our big story tonight. It has to do with this strange little situation we discovered about unemployment and how it's motivating some people to stay home rather than to go back to work. I know that sounds backwards, right? Well, Robbie emailed me saying, I know at least 4 people who are making more collecting unemployment than they do when they work. They have the option to work because their work is not shut down, and they use coronavirus as a cover to collect easy money. What's being done about closing these loopholes? Robbie is right. There are a lot of people actually making more on unemployment than they would if they were still working. And it's because of that $600 extra a week that everyone's getting now from the federal government. Let's take a look at what the New York Times is calling the unemployment booster shot. They looked at data from the Labor Department. They found that 46% of workers in Oregon make more on unemployment right now than they do in their jobs. 46%. For Washington, it's 38%. And this is also true in more than half of the states in the U.S. People are getting more money not to work. Oregon and Washington already have some of the highest minimum unemployment benefits in the country. It's $151 a week in Oregon and $188 in Washington. Then you add that extra $600 a week on top of that. We talked to the owner of a big restaurant group here in Portland who's dealing with this problem right now. His employees are making more while being laid off, so they don't want to come back to work. Kurt Huffman, the owner of Chef's Stable, wrote an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal this week, saying his restaurants won't be able to fully reopen until August, when that extra $600 a week goes away. His group has more than 20 restaurants under their belt. When they shut down, they had to lay off most of their workers, but lately they've seen more takeout business than they expected, so they tried to start hiring some people back. But almost everyone has said no, because they'd be taking a pay cut by going back to work.
Last week, we started calling people to see if we could get them to come in for 25, 35-hour a week shifts, and that happened to happen the same week that they started receiving the $600 supplemental amount from the federal government on top of their unemployment. And we just noticed that we had people that weren't interested, and very quickly it started making sense why. We're not blaming. I love my employees. These guys, especially line cooks, those guys, that's what I did my first 8 years professionally.
All right, here's the math. Huffman says line cooks in his restaurants, they make a minimum of $15 an hour. If you include tips, that works out to be about $640 a week. In Oregon, you get 1.25% of your annual salary. So that works out to $416 for a line cook making minimum wage every week. When you add the extra $600 to that, they're now making more than $1,000 a week. That's an extra $376 for every week that they don't go back to work. And yeah, I guess when you're thinking of just simply dollars and cents, that's a better deal. And you heard Huffman, he actually doesn't blame them. But let's go back to Robbie's question. Are people allowed to still collect unemployment if they're offered their job back and turn it down? Well, according to the state, no. Not unless they have a legitimate reason why they can't return to work. And that includes being sick with COVID-19, being under a mandatory quarantine, caring for a sick family member, or basically getting a doctor's note saying it would be better if you stayed home. The Employment Department told us if someone chooses to stay home from work after they've been called back, and none of the situations where they can continue to claim benefits apply to them, they would not be considered eligible for unemployment benefits. They also say employers can report if their workers don't want to come back because they're getting a better deal on unemployment. And if that's true, the worker would have to pay back all their benefits and might face other penalties or prosecution. Now,